new mixed income communities. We seek in sharing this information with you today to build on the department's comprehensive housing strategy, also known as Housing Opportunities for All, which includes the goals that it show on the screen. One, to support existing residents, including longtime residents, seniors, residents with disabilities, and those who are at risk of displacement. Secondly, to attract new residents, including millennials, employers, and developers. And then thirdly, to build on strategic investments in sub-markets in the county, including the transit-oriented development locations, opportunities along the Purple Line, and opportunities within the county's opportunity zones. Today, you're going to learn information about who we are, secondly, our financial resources, and thirdly, our development opportunities, both within our public housing inventory and many sites that the Housing Authority owns throughout the county. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our Deputy Executive Director, and he will guide the team through this presentation. So again, thank you for joining us. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. We appreciate those remarks. And good morning to everyone again. We know that people are just continuing to kind of trickle in. And again, thank you for your patience as we took a couple of minutes to kind of open things up. But today's roundtable, we are very excited about. And as Ms. Alexander said just a second ago, this is opportunities to partner with us, but mainly opportunities for us to partner with you on an array of types of services that we offer here. So today's roundtable is to discuss future opportunities in the areas of rental subsidies, real estate finance, and real estate development. The webinar is going to highlight various ways that interested parties could potentially partner with the Housing Authority of Prince George's County and provide a detailed overview of upcoming solicitations and programs. Just to give you a little flavor for, as Ms. Alexander said, of who we are, the Housing Authority is under the umbrella of the Department of Housing and Community Development, led by Ms. Alexander. We have the Department of Housing and Community Development, which has the CPD, Community Planning and Development Division, as well as the Housing Development Division. And you'll hear from Pam Wilson, the Development Manager, and later on in this presentation. You have the Housing Authority, again, where you'll learn about a number of our staff through this process and our activities. And then you have the Redevelopment Authority for Prince George's County, led by Stephen Paul. So our mission is to expand access to quality housing options, create safe and well-planned, attractive residential communities while assisting families in maintaining self-sufficiency and promoting stability in communities. The beneficiaries of our efforts are individuals and families at various income levels with housing and community improvement needs. Special emphasis is given to low to moderate people who live within the county. The Housing Authority of Prince George's County carries out its mission in a number of different ways, and we'll cover that today as well. We do it through aggressive financing, innovative planning, and productive partnerships with public, private, and community-based organizations. So who we are. You've heard from Ms. Alexander, who is our Executive Director. You've heard from myself, who is the Deputy Director, but there are other crucial members of our team. Not all are going to be named here, but we have a pretty awesome team. So first, let me introduce James McGraw, who is our Division Director for Modernization and Development. Second, Ronald McCoy, who is the Rental Assistance Division Manager. Michael Jackson, who is on the Modernization and Project Management team. Pam Wilson, who is the Housing Development Program Manager. And then we are served by two storied, and I mean storied in a good way, professionals in our affordable housing space, and that is both Harry Sewell and Ray Skinner. So a little bit more about the Housing Authority of Prince George's County, because a lot of people don't know a lot about the Housing Authority of Prince George's County. So we're a mid-sized organization by HUD's definition. We have an annual budget of about $100 million, a full staff limit of 68 employees currently. We administer or own over 6,400 units of housing. So that breakdown is over 5,800 housing choice voucher and project-based units, 376 public housing units, and 215 mob rehab units. So our goals and strategy. I think many of you joined Hans' call last week and heard our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Angie Rogers, about many of the goals for the county. And so ours are no different. We align with the counties with those goals wholeheartedly. So our goal overall, beyond the Housing for All plan, is to increase the availability of housing within Prince George's County. How do we do that? We do that by preserving existing affordable housing within the county. One piece of that is our own public housing portfolio. The other pieces are expiring Section 8 contracts, as well as tax credit deals that are ending the near of their compliance period or the affordability restriction. Also, for naturally occurring affordable housing throughout the county that could face rising rental rates as a result of development in the community. We want to increase the number of affordable multifamily units in the county. Yes, we said multifamily. We know that the county has had a stigma of only doing senior housing, and senior housing is great, but you need to balance that with multifamily, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to increase that by using our vacant parcels to be able to facilitate that type of development. We're also looking for opportunities in other places to be able to expand affordable housing, multifamily housing, using rental subsidies as well. Develop multifamily dwellings that meet specific accessibility requirements. Everybody is on this phone is pretty much, or on this line, is familiar with accessibility and UFAS standards, but this is a little bit different. It is along those same lines, but our population continues to get older. Doesn't matter, younger. We're all going to get old at some point, older, but we have a number of different challenges that we must face. And one of those challenges is being able to age in place. And so we want to create an environment and create units that allow people to age in place. And that's really a true goal of this authority, to be able to do that. Create opportunities to partner with local and regional developers. Well, step one, this event is our step in that direction. We want to partner with people not only on the things that we own and that we offer, but we also want to partner with developers on dirt we don't own, buildings we don't own, because I think we bring some advantages as a partner that we'll cover today. And lastly, but certainly not least, create homeownership opportunities at various income levels across the county. The county has a lot of homeownership opportunities across the board for many people. But like many municipalities in our area, affordability is becoming very, very difficult for a number of different people, particularly in the homeownership space. And so we seek to introduce affordable inventory to be able to alleviate that. So I'm going to turn it over to our next and newest member of our team to talk about rental subsidies. He's been with us now for 2 weeks now, but he has hit the ground running. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Ronald McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. The Housing Authority of Prince George's County is seeking to expand affordable housing opportunities in conjunction with the private development. Previously, the Housing Authority released a solicitation to the community seeking UFAS accessible units to subsidize for its seniors and families. The Housing Authority will continue to evaluate priorities in the county and issue future solicitations to address those issues. And for the benefit of everyone, UFAS is the Uniform Federal Accessibility Standards, which is a step up from your traditional accessibility features. And the Housing Authority is excited to launch a new landlord incentive program starting at the start of the next calendar year. We were seeking to attract new landlords to re-engage previous participating landlords and to retain existing landlords by offering one-time incentives in conjunction with the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The goal under this program is to expand our UFAS certified units, our accessible units, and housing opportunities in areas that promote greater mobility. And some exciting incentives for that you'll see are ranging from $500 to $1,500 as a one-time incentive. And again, the incentive starts in January and it ends December 17th, 2021.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. And for anyone, just a little housekeeping items that if you have any questions, please use the chat box to put your questions in. Some questions are being answered during the chat box, but certainly we will tally those questions at the end, and we will answer them. But just a quick housekeeping piece. I know how this goes. Our presentation will be made available online shortly thereafter this presentation. So I know somebody already put that in the chat box, but we can check that box off. That will be available, and we will be making, because that's not something everybody does, we will be making this presentation also available online. Don't know if we'd be doing that pre-2020. All right, so to move on to the next section, and thank you, Ron, for that particular piece. Look, there are many developers on here. I see a lot of familiar faces on here, and so many of you own properties, operate properties, will be developing properties. Certainly, the Housing Choice Voucher Program is definitely a natural step, I think, in this affordability process. And so if you're developing, if you're acquiring, think of us and understand in terms of what we're looking for at this current time. So moving on to our real estate finance area. So I mentioned James McGraw, who is our development and modernization manager. So you'll hear from him. Then you will hear from Ms. Pam Wilson, who is part of the housing development division. She is their manager. And then we'll continue on from that point to continue with Mr. McGraw and then Michael Jackson to go over our real estate portfolio. James?
Thanks, Nathan. Good morning, all. With the goal of increasing the availability of housing within Prince George's County, the Housing Authority looks forward to reestablishing its affordable housing bond financing program. The Housing Authority will utilize its annual allocation of volume cap tax-exempt bonds as an instrument to help achieve this goal. Entities that are eligible to apply for project financing include nonprofit and for-profit developers who agree to set aside a portion of their project's units for low or very low income tenants. Those eligible projects include new construction projects as well as preservation projects. Slide, please. Slide, please. Compliance is a very important part of what we will be looking at, and projects will be required to remain in compliance with IRS and Housing Authority requirements, including those requirements found in Internal Revenue Code 142D, as an example, the 2050 test or the 4060 test. All financing requests are subject to the availability of current and future awards of volume cap tax-exempt bond allocations from the state of Maryland. Additionally, for information or additional information or to have your important questions answered, please contact me at jfmcgraw@co.pg.md.us. The Housing Authority anticipates issuing solicitations for bond counsel and investment banking services in the very near future. Now, I would like to introduce you to Pam Wilson, our DHCD Housing Development Program Manager. Pam will provide you with additional information on potential financing opportunities. Pam?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. And as James said, I do work in the Housing Development Division for the Department of Housing. And we have a few financing tools that can serve as gap financing. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to give you a quick overview of those tools. And many of you that are on the line are familiar with these sources. One being the Home Investment Partnerships Program. HOME is a federal entitlement program from HUD. By the way, you can go to the next slide. It's a federal entitlement program from HUD that provides funds to state and local governments for the purpose of expanding the supply of decent, safe, and affordable rental or homeownership housing opportunities to seniors, families, and individuals with incomes below 80% of the area median income. For rental specifically, we target households with incomes at 60% and below. We also have the county's Housing Investment Trust Fund, which is still fairly new to the county, and we're very pleased to have that as a tool, and we see that growing over the years. We have to start somewhere, so we are very excited to have this trust fund. And the purpose of our trust fund, in addition to providing for down payment and closing cost assistance, the trust fund also serves as a vehicle to provide gap financing for the development and or preservation of workforce housing for families with an emphasis on supporting new development, rehab, or workforce, like I said, rental housing, targeting households, again, earning up to 80% of the area median income. What we found in Prince George's County is when we define workforce housing, we're actually looking at households that are earning anywhere between 40 to 80% of the AMI. When we use our trust fund dollars for down payment and closing cost assistance, we do extend that ceiling up to 120% of the AMI. So with both of these tools, I would say the main difference is the income band that each source serves, with the Housing Trust Fund geared more towards families than seniors. Similarities, they are both cash flow loans, paid out of cash flow. It's soft debt. Terms are flexible, usually ranging anywhere from 20 to 40 years, typically with about a 2% interest rate. And I also just wanted to let the audience know that our applications for home and trust fund dollars, the application is on our website, and we do accept applications on a rolling basis. Next slide, please. In addition to the two tools I just mentioned, another tool we have is a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes agreement. So our division does underwrite for pilots. The county can enter into a pilot agreement with the developer of a project for a defined period of time to accept less than the local portion of the real estate taxes, specifically for the affordable units. So if the project is not 100% affordable, we will prorate that pilot payment to reflect the percentage of affordable units. Of course, the project has to demonstrate a need, and it has to meet the requirements of the Maryland Code, which is Section 7-505. While we underwrite it based on need, the county typically does not support 100% abatement or deferral of the county's real property tax. And keep in mind, the county can only provide relief to the real property taxes and not the other charges and fees that are listed on your typical tax bill. So with that said, I mean, that really concludes the three main tools that I wanted to talk about. If anyone would like to discuss any of these any further, my email address was on the opening of this presentation. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. McGraw to continue. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Next, we'll talk a little bit about development opportunities. Our development opportunities include converting our existing public housing portfolio under the various methods allowed by HUD, for instance, RAD, Section 18, or voluntary conversion. Our public housing assets consist of 5 properties with a total of 376 public housing units. Additionally, the Housing Authority owns several large and small acre parcels that we look forward to developing in the very near future. Next, Mr. Michael Jackson, our division's senior project manager, will provide additional information on the Housing Authority's public housing properties, as well as our large and small acre parcels. Michael,
Good afternoon, everybody. This map outlays our properties as they fall throughout the county. They range from Kimberly Gardens, north in Laurel, all the way down to Oxon Hill. Orange Road will be our further south project. You can see our public housing is highlighted here, our vacant parcels, and our large scale parcels, which we'll go into later. Next. Partnering with the Housing Authority through the development process. We have a mandatory referral, which is mandatory requires Housing Authority to be the main applicant, is eligible to develop and are exempt from parking planning standards entitlement projects, and eligible projects are exempt from county zoning ordinance requirements, and review comments are advisory and non-binding. It is a major asset when dealing with when partnering with the Housing Authority of Prince George's County. Also, the Maryland CD application submission. Under section 4.1, capacity development, we offer a 14-point bonus in Exhibit G of partnering with a nonprofit or the Public Housing Authority, which is us. Next. Mega Suite case management. The Mega Suite permitting process could be considered an incentive to work with developers. Inspector from the DPI organization is assigned to the project, which guides it through the process and expedites the process on behalf of the Housing Authority. Prince George's Office of Central Service Sustainable Energy offers a green leasing grant up to a maximum of $150,000. Qualifying properties would be multifamily housing and office buildings. Properties must be existing at times. Preservation and rehab of existing affordable multifamily and low-income housings are eligible. For additional information, contact the Office of Central Services. Our public housing properties. I'd like to preface this section by saying that all of our properties, though aged, are well-maintained through our Housing Assistance Division led by Al Coley. This is evidenced by our high REACT scores and FAST scores annually. Owens Road is a 7-story high-rise apartment building for seniors and disabled. Built in 1971, it has 132 units, 68 of which are studios, 54 are 1-bedrooms, and 1 or 2-bedrooms. It sits on 7.34 acres in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Next. Cottage City Towers is a 6-story high-rise apartment building for seniors and disabled located in Brentwood, Maryland. Built in 1974, the building is situated on 3.17 acres and includes ample resident parking. Next. Kimberly Gardens, located in Laurel, Maryland, sits on 5 acres. Is a 50-unit townhouse public housing development built in 1972. Has 14 2-bedroom units, 26 3-bedroom units, 10 4-bedroom units, and recent upgrades to this unit property included air conditioning installations and roof repairs. Next. Rolling Crest. Rolling Crest is a public housing development for seniors and disabled. Seniors and disabled, built in 1974, is comprised of 40 units, which are all 1-bedroom, low cottage style properties. It's situated on 3.51 acres, and the community recently had a new community center constructed and rehabilitated on this property. Next. Marbletown. Marbletown is a 63 townhouse family development built in 1972, sits on 5.21 acres, has 33 1-bedroom units, 25 2-bedroom units, and 5 3-bedroom units. Thank you. Our large-scale vacant properties. Next. Property 1 is 4300 Vermilion Avenue in Oxon Hill. It is a 4.98 acre site. Current zoning is R55. In addition to single family dwellings, Under certain special exceptions, multifamily is accepted. Apartment for elderly and townhomes would be acceptable on this property. Next. Property 2, 10,004 New Orchard Drive in Upper Marlboro is a 15-acre site with current RR zoning. Again, allows for single-family dwelling, but also under special exceptions, apartment for elderly, planned retirement communities, townhomes, and multifamily dwellings are permissible. Next. Property 3, 58 Leon Street, Suitland, Maryland, is 29 acres, currently R80, permits single-family dwellings, also apartment housing, planned retirement communities, and townhomes are permitted on this site. Marcy Avenue. Marcy Avenue is located in Oxon Hill, Maryland. It is 4.1 acres. This particular site requires additional infrastructure to be placed and additional zoning analysis at this time. 10,602 Woodlawn Boulevard, located in Largo, Maryland, is a 9.23 acre site. Permitted uses would be single family dwellings, multifamily dwellings, apartment for elderlies, planned communities, and also townhouse construction. Surplus properties. Currently, we have 17 infill lots located and centralized throughout the county, from centralized all the way up to the purple line corridor in Riverdale. You'll see some of those properties that are listed. Most have infrastructure and accessible public utilities on site. Next. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, James, for your presentation. So this is what we have, right? We have a number of different pieces. We have the ability to issue bonds. We have the ability to issue rental subsidies. We have sites to develop, and we have our own existing affordable housing to preserve. So in terms of our next steps in our process, we are working with HUD to identify the best methods of repositioning. So those who are familiar with repositioning or who want to work with us should be familiar with repositioning. Along the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, or RAD, Section 18 demolition disposition, or streamlined voluntary conversion. Those are all the options that we are beginning to look at. As part of that process, we are beginning to order our third-party reports to look at the physical needs assessment of all of our existing public housing sites. In the month of November, we will be putting out a request for qualification for development partners. And as you can tell, we have a number of different types of development that we are trying to facilitate. We have opportunities in there for the smaller developers, smaller infill lot type of developers, as Michael just covered, the large vacant parcels, as well as our existing public housing portfolio. And as I mentioned, and I think as Michael had covered, we certainly want to partner with individuals for sites that we do not own. I think that there is a benefit to everyone involved in the process in terms of what we bring and what you bring to the table as well. So we'll be issuing the request for qualifications later this in the month of November, looking to secure development partners. And then the development partners that would be secured under that solicitation, we would request them to submit proposals to the Housing Authority based on the prioritization of development activities determined by the Housing Authority. So we've reached the question period. And so if you are able to hang on, which we hope you can, because we wanted to leave as much time to answer as many questions as people may have. And we know people have been using the chat box. And that's great. And so if you have to leave or you have future questions that you want to send to us, you can always send an email to Development Roundtable at co.pg.md.us. And we certainly will respond to you as quickly as possible. We will use this opportunity now to take questions. I think the first question in here is, do you have plats for the 17 infill lots with the property lines? I believe that answer is yes. So the question is, what happened to the RFQ that we issued in the summer of 2019? The decision was made during that period of time that we had additional information and additional strategies that we had identified. And so we wanted to pause that process in that and reissue a new process with a new direction and new focus, which you're seeing today. Chris Early, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Pretty good, and yourself?
All right. I can't complain. Good to see you too.
What is the timing of the, oh, Pam, this is your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I seen the question. The question is, what is the timing on the Housing Investment Trust Fund dollars? Not totally clear what you mean on timing, but I can say this. The county is currently working through its initial $5 million allocation that we received for the gap financing. Currently at this time, we don't have a dedicated revenue stream to continually fund the trust fund. It is definitely a priority that the county is researching. One thing to keep in mind with our trust fund dollars and with our home funds, a commitment of either source will require legislative approval. So there is timing involved in getting through that process to get a resolution adopted to commit those funds.
Thank you, Pam. The question was, will we send out the RFQ to everyone in this meeting? We can do, I want to say, you know how this works, right? So we will advertise the solicitation through the county's portal. We will use HAND and other associations in our region to be able to get that word out. We actually will, we can do an email blast to people to make this available, but we normally do not send it out directly to folks, but we certainly will make people aware that it is available. So, yeah. Next question is, how do we attain the plats? That is a good question. Michael, you want to tackle that one? Any thoughts around that one?
Most of the plats have been researched, have detailed information on the larger scales, and we have original site plans for the infill 17 lots.
Michael, this is McGraw. I think we have those plats in a book already, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Would it be feasible to make copies on request, or is that something you think we should do, Nathan?
We can be part of the upcoming solicitation.
Yeah, I mean, we'll focus on the solicitation first. And then certainly, I mean, that type of information we would make available to individuals that are on our bench that we would be requesting that information, requesting proposals back from, but we'll figure that out. So the next question was, will we be sharing the recorded webinar? Yes, our plan is to put the webinar on and along with the PowerPoint presentation on our website. Any input on the development of land on Katora Boulevard in the Laurel area? I am not necessarily familiar with that piece of property, so I would say no. Unless I'm mixing up something here, but I'm not familiar with that. Are you able to share your projected bond issuance cap? Are we able to, so our allocation from the state in terms of the, I mean, sharing is caring, but sharing in the sense of, I mean, our allocation from the state ranges between $32 and $35 million annually. Our share is what we're doing now, that we're trying to build a pipeline to be able to use that bond capacity to facilitate either development or preservation activities. So if that is your question, yes. Anything beyond that, no. It would only be for lending. It would only be for lending purposes and based off what we've just identified. Anticipation timeline for the release of the RFP for bond counsel. The release for RFP and for bond counsel will be coming out in the month of November. It should be within the next week or so, but it will be in the month of November for sure. Will we share the link to the portal so that we can sign up? I'm not sure what portal you're referring to, Jeff. I don't know if you want to speak to that or not. Okay. Yes, the slides will, good morning. Yes, the slides will be made available on our website for all participants today. Well, for the participants today and for anybody else who needs it for future reference. What is the current status of the Suitland Town Center development, specifically the senior living and arts component? That, I mean, we can put you in touch with the proper people. That is the redevelopment authority. The Suitland Town Center is a redevelopment authority project, not a housing authority project, but that is moving forward in a number of different ways. So if you have a specific question in relation to that, I believe Stephen Paul is on, but you can connect with him or a member of his staff on the redevelopment authority. Ray Nix, good morning, sir. Are you planning on having periodic RFQ procurements for developments, or will be chosen in November 20 process to stay on the bench? So our goal is to at least start out, sorry, I know I kind of fumbled through the question, but the question was, are you planning on having periodic RFQ procurements for developers, or will developers chosen through the November 2020 process stay on the bench for a period of time? I think we're going to work through that process and see how this plays out, at least in terms of the initial solicitation and how much interest that we get. There's certainly going to be opportunities, we hope in the future, to do other types of work and other parcels and properties to develop and preserve. And so that requires a number of different kind of skill sets. So I think over a period of time, we'll continue to evaluate that. But we would think, at least initially, the bench as comprised as a result of the RFQ that we intend to issue would be the bench for now. And if we needed to do it, we would open it up for additional parties to be recognized as well. Have all infill and or larger parcels been through the surplus process? They've been through the surplus process. I think from the county standpoint, I think you mean they have been through I mean, we have had conversations obviously with the planning department through that particular piece, but we still have the housing authority has the authority to dispose of this, but we are working with the county in terms of the larger county initiatives around surplus properties and around development period to make sure that these are coordinated through the county efforts such as the Grand Slam. Would you entertain development proposals on any of your sites outside of your RFP? Probably not. I mean, you can send unsolicited proposals all day. I think, you know, we have a process for which we deal with this. So I don't think we would entertain it per se, but you're welcome to send it. What is the order of magnitude of UFAS units that we require, the Housing Authority requires per year over the next 5 years? Well, I mean, I think that we're trying to get at that a couple of different ways. Ron talked about the landlord incentive program. And so the most heavy incentives are for UFAS and accessible units. And so that has an impact on our tenant-based voucher program as well as potentially our project-based voucher program. And certainly from the development standpoint, regardless if we're going to finance it or we're going to own it and develop it, you still have to have your 5 and 2 standard, and that we would want to maintain. As I mentioned before, we would still want to look at incorporating additional features around accessibility to really kind of help those efforts. So I hope that answers your question. For your RFP for development, will there be MBE partnership requirement for developers? Well, I think we always welcome, so let's go down the list in terms of things that people should be doing in terms of our partners. Obviously, our partners should be well-versed with Section 3, first and foremost, because that is a very important piece of the puzzle for Section 3 businesses to be part of this. Certainly, we support MBE partnerships at various levels, at the development level, certainly through the corresponding pieces of the team from the general contractor, subcontractor, architect, attorneys, so have you. In terms of what those requirements would be specifically, we would lean towards either county initiatives that already exist in that area, or we would develop our own. But in terms of a requirement, there'll be a threshold identified in terms of what people should be hitting. Everybody knows how this arena is played. There are points that are given for the makeup of your team and how you can hit those different points. So I think do yourself a service and make sure that you kind of adhere to that. B. Goldstein, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Will the RFQ include the Housing Authority Prince George's County strategy for the portfolio in terms of disposition structure, Section 18, RAD Section 18, prioritization of projects, phasing, relocation, et cetera, or will we be looking to prospective developers to assist? So that's a really good question, Lee. We've made a lot of significant progress in that area in terms of understanding the disposition strategy, as well as how we want to move forward with it. Our goal at the end is to, as we engage our development partners on our bench, to really specifically tell people what we're looking for, right? I mean, we've gone through this process. We know that these are the options, and this is what we want to try to facilitate. Relocation obviously is a big player in that. Anytime that you're talking about doing new construction or even doing rehab, so that is a big piece. Tenant engagement is a big piece as well. So I think that we look at this in terms of a partnership. We look at it in terms of making a determination. We've already begun to have extensive conversations around phasing and moving our portfolio forward, because we don't want this to be something that's going to take years and years to be able to happen. So, and there are some things that can move in a way that our portfolio, the size of our portfolio, kind of allows us to move at a speed that may be different from some of our other counterparts in the region that have hundreds of thousands of units. And that's not something we have, but that's, we can move a little bit more nimble around that, if that answers your question. Cool. Will respondents to have to be Prince George's based or given priority, or will past performance weigh heavy? It's really both, right? I mean, you all signed up for the county's webinar. Thank you. We certainly want to make sure that there's good representation of your team, or in relation to ties to the county. But I would say just as equal, your performance is everything. This is a reputational business. I think everybody understands that, and so your performance, our performance, is going to be really on the line. And so we want to make sure that we work with people who have extensive experience in dealing with the various aspects and the various populations that we're tasked with, trying to oversee or to help improve their lives, to improve. And so we want to make sure that people have a good track record and successful performance. But certainly we'll be looking to people who have an experience dealing with the county. But as I started out by saying, this is local and regional. You know, we border many different counties. We border the District of Columbia, the state of Virginia. So there are partnerships and there are ways for people to get into this space, and that's what we want to do. Will the RFQ include bonus points for partnering with a local nonprofit? No. We'll have to go back and look at that. I don't think the way it was drafted, it includes that particular piece. But certainly, we do want to engage all partners as part of this process. And I would be remiss by saying, I think everybody kind of knows in terms of how the Housing Authority game is going, or the way it's moving in terms of development. We certainly see this as a partnership not only in terms of the development of activities or the facilitation of activities, but the return of such activities. Because if we are a self-generating entity, we only receive our money from the federal government and what we do in terms of non-federal activities. And so if we're going to really be an active player in this space, we need revenue to be able to do that. And I think that that's something that I think it's said, but I think people need to really kind of hear this in terms of the traditional way that many people have probably approached this organization in terms of structure and deal structure definitely will be different. So next question is from Howard Irvin. How have you announced the awardees from the latest project-based voucher allocation RFP? We have not. So we did, for people who wanted to know, we did issue a solicitation back in July for project-based vouchers seeking UFAS and accessible units, UFAS certified and accessible units. And so we have completed our analysis. We are going through the process of finalizing those analysis, and we'll be making a recommendation to our board shortly. Any more questions? We hope that you found this to be very helpful. There is some interesting stuff that is going on. As our team talked about earlier, in terms of the bonds, we certainly want to build out a pipeline for bond funding. And so there are some advantages to certainly working with us in the state. And so we definitely want to make sure that people are aware that we will have a term sheet out very soon, and we're willing to and ready to have conversations with many people who have deals within the county that need financing. And so we're very excited about those kind of opportunities as well. And so, as I said, in terms of the development space, we will have a solicitation coming up very soon, looking for partners. Bring your A game, bring your A game. And that is real. And so we want to make sure that people put their best foot forward in terms of that we're looking for a partner. Don't throw something in just to throw something in thinking that we're really going to give it a real look. We're not. We are looking to move forward and do some things, and that requires us to have serious partners to move this forward. But there are a lot of opportunities here, and I hope that everyone takes the time to kind of look through this information that we'll be providing on our website shortly, and take the time to review that information, apply for whatever solicitations that you see fit in terms of that meets our objectives as well as yours, and really give us a real look. As I mentioned before, we certainly have the email box in terms of the Development Roundtable email box if people need to send us questions after that. You have our email addresses and many email addresses in the presentation to reach out. So we hope that this will be helpful. Any more questions? Going once, going twice. I'm going to give everybody their life back before lunchtime. So if there are no questions, thank you for your time this morning. I just want to, before everybody kind of jumps off, because this is something that we can't do by ourselves. And so thank you again for your participation. I want to thank certainly members of our team, Tashina Brooks, who is our IT coordinator, McGore Crawford, who is our executive assistant and helped design our PowerPoint presentation, Alexis Yeoman, who is our public information officer, Ray Skinner, Harry Sewell, all who have given us comments. Pam, thank you for your time. James, Michael, Ron, thank you. Ms. Alexander, thank you. Nicole Garrett, all the people that are behind the scenes that you're not seeing, who let you into this presentation. This doesn't happen on its own. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Have a great day, and please continue to stay safe.